Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about Have a Nice Day. This is an animated film, and supposedly it is animated, directed, produced, and written by the same person, Jian, or his name will be down here. And that's incredibly impressive, that most of this animated film is done by one person. Ever since the film Sita Sings the Blues, I've kind of thought that there probably would be more animated films animated by a very small crew or even one person. And so this is one of those, I guess. It's impressive. It took about 3 years to make. For anyone to take on a feat like that seems pretty insurmountable. I'm sure for a long period of that, they're probably like, is this gonna even work? And Have a Nice Day is interesting in that it tries to take on sort of a Pulp Fiction-esque kind of crime one-night kind of idea, sort of out of order, with sort of quirky characters and everything like that. The animation style is sort of reminiscent of the Kanye West video Heartless, if you remember that. That was rotoscoped. This is not rotoscoped, so sort of similar to what Ralph Bakshi did, to be honest, but more in the nouveau way Heartless was. I probably should have just said Ralph Bakshi, that would have sounded better, but I kind of think it's more reminiscent of the Kanye West video. I had long heard about this film. I had wanted to see it. Obviously I saw it. It was on Shudder. The thing about Have a Nice Day is it is within the genre of like kind of a Pulp Fiction ripoff, basically. And in that, it's unique in that it's actually animated. I think it's the only one of those I've ever heard of being animated. And so that's interesting in and of itself. But I think the thing that like Go, or even a film which I didn't get to see, The Bad Day at the El Rey, or countless others have, that this film sort of does but doesn't really get into enough, is a large arrangement of quirky characters. And sure, it has like cowboy hat guy and various different kinds of people, but the thing about Go is it has all these, being as my example is maybe the leading like Pulp Fiction ripoff thing, or 200 Cigarettes or something like that, is that like you had quirky dialogue, you had quirky characters, you had things you were like, oh, that conversation's sort of weird or something like that. And they're very inviting quirky characters. That's sort of what's supposed to populate kind of a structure like this. You know, you're like, oh, he's talking about a Royale with cheese. That's crazy. I want to hear that conversation again. And in Have a Nice Day, obviously this is a Chinese film, and so I guess dialogue would have been a little difficult subtitle wise and all that stuff, but there's none of that. It's more silent, it's more quiet. People are sort of quirky in the way that like that guy has a cowboy hat, but there's no, I guess, presence because of that. I was often let down by this film because I was wondering when it was going to start getting into the kind of fun that this genre was doing. And it kind of shows you like his attempt in what he is doing in this film doesn't work for the kind of genre whatever he's moving within. And you could say, well, just don't think of that genre in this case. Like, let Have a Nice Day be its own thing. Okay, but letting it be its own thing is just frankly not very good. It's like kind of an interesting idea. I think this film like works better than like a sophomore director's kind of misfire of a kind of film, because you know it's animated in this unique style, so in some ways I want to let it go because I enjoyed looking at it. Aesthetically, I think this is a very good film. I like this director. I'd like to see his previous film, Piercing Eye. I'd like to see that film, to be honest. Maybe I'll review that at some point. But Have a Nice Day I found to be very disappointing, because it's like you have this crime spree, crime drama thingy or whatever, and if you're gonna have all these quirky characters and all this kind of stuff in it, like do something with it. And he sort of does and hints at it, but never really gets into it enough that there was really kind of a good, fun kind of feeling in it. It's just kind of like an average kind of a crime film animated, and making it probably more than that because of the animation, which he did a good job of. He kind of elevated something that, to be honest, should not be as enjoyable or memorable as it is because of that. If you strip that away from it, which is like a totally different movie, but if you're taking that out of it, it really has nothing at its core. You know, I think it wants to, and I think this film tries to act like it does because of all that stuff, and sometimes it have funny lines, but it frankly wasn't enough to keep me going with it. When I think of a film like Go, which to be perfectly honest I didn't really like for a long time, I think about all the various like quirky kind of things going on within it, and you know, the characters and the setups and everything like that. In this, I'm just like, somebody has plastic surgery and somebody stole someone money and everything like that. It's way more about like what's going on in the plot than the perspective on the plot. And it's like this director was like, my version of just the plot itself, animated, is enough to sort of make this film unique. In some ways, yeah, Have a Nice Day is actually very unique. There's no other animated film like it. It's kind of one of the main reasons I wanted to see it. It's different in that regard, but it's not different in how it's telling the story, and that it's very bland. It's like doing part of a recipe amazingly well, very uniquely and special, and then doing the rest like haphazardly and not really getting into it that much. I think this director's interesting. I'm going to chop this up to being sort of just an interesting misfire. It's not a terrible movie. If you saw it, you'd be fine with it. Taking it and saying it's like a deconstruction of one of those and just deconstructing it to its base levels, but that's not a genre you really want to do that with. And like, if it was that, I don't think that was all that successful. I think that it just made me go, oh, okay, you did that, but what was the point necessarily? It felt like he was just kind of going through one of those and hoping this would be some sort of a cult thing. I don't really think it is. I think it's just a film you're watching if you kind of are looking for a cult thing, but you're not going to find it here. You're just going to go, that was sort of interesting, and if someone brings it up, you go, oh yeah, I sort of saw that or something. This doesn't evoke any passion. It doesn't evoke any fun, and that's highly disappointing with Have a Nice Day. I really wish this could have been something more, and it didn't feel like the writing and the directing was demanding it as much as the uniqueness in the animation, which is quite unique. I think if you are a fan of animation, this isn't a bad watch, but as an actual movie, I just don't really think it gets fully into and enjoying the genre and the opportunity it has. And it could have just been a really subpar one of those, to be honest, and have some quirky dialogue, and I probably would have been a little more fine with it. It doesn't really even meet me halfway. It's like making a grilled cheese but forgetting the butter or something. And I think Have a Nice Day it's unfortunate because you feel like it could have been so much more than what it was. What it is a fine, unique kind of a thing, but it's sometimes when you're watching a film like this, maybe you should have been more than unique. Maybe you should have had something underneath that uniqueness and that quirkiness to make you something a little more of substance than just kind of like a unique animation style exercise that is actually fairly enjoyable, but it's not enjoyable enough that I'd actually want to watch this again. It's more of just enjoyable in the way that I sat there, I watched it, I awed at the animation and just thought, man, wouldn't this be cool to have on mute at a party, but not really cool enough to watch as an actual film. So if you've seen Have a Nice Day and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.